Buffet-style meal preps are perfect for anyone who wants the convenience of having prepped food in the fridge but doesn't like to eat the same thing every day. They allow for flexibility and variation while still offering a time-saving benefit. I turned these ingredients into crinkle-cut french fries and fruit for snack time, some spring rolls and a chicken wrap for a few of my lunches this week, as well as an easy chicken and noodle stir-fry and a Nourish bowl for my dinners. Shout out to ZWILLING and their fresh and safe vacuum storage system for sponsoring this video. Here was my process. I started out the prep with the potatoes for fries. They need to soak for a bit in some salt water to season and remove some starch, so I filled a large bowl with water and a few heavy pinches of salt and stirred to dissolve. I like to keep some fries in the freezer for easy additions to meals or for snack time. You never know when 2 a.m. is going to roll around one night and you need to get something snacky into your belly immediately. Just kidding, yes I do, that's every night. Back when I lived with roommates, I used to make 10 pounds of these fries at a time. This is a 5-pound bag of russet potatoes. I gave them a rinse and cut them into fry shape with a crinkle cutter. The crinkle shape gives more surface area for the air fryer to generate some crispiness. I don't bother peeling the potatoes, just cut away the parts that annoy me to look at. Once all the fries were cut and placed into their bath, I set the bowl aside to move on to the other ingredients. Next, I cut up some sweet potatoes. They will be used as a carb source in some of my meals throughout the week. I've had these in the pantry for a while, so it was time for them to get used up. Things that are about to go bad in my house often find their way into my buffet preps. While I had the crinkle cutter out, I thought, how fun and zany would it be if I cut the sweet potatoes into a crinkle too? So I did, and obviously it makes them taste better. It's just like the shaped mac and cheese versus the regular noodle. When all my sweet potatoes were chopped up, I transferred them over to a large bowl and tossed them with some oil and salt and pepper. I don't personally count calories, so when I do buffet preps like this, I don't measure anything, I just go by feel. If you are someone who needs the calorie information, then just grab weights of all your ingredients and plug them into an app. It's pretty straightforward to do. When the potatoes were ready, I placed them on a lightly oiled sheet pan and moved them into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 Celsius for about 20 minutes and turned them halfway through. My next move was to get some rice going for another one of my carb sources. This is about 2 cups of dry rice. I rinsed it until the water ran clear and then placed it into the rice cooker to cook. Following the rice, I prepared my noodles for the stir fry and spring rolls. I recently found these mung bean noodles at the grocery store and I like them a lot better than the rice version that I've used in the past. They're more similar in texture to the sweet potato glass noodles than they are to the rice noodles. They have a bit more bounce to them. I found these at Central Market. You may need to go to your local Asian grocery store or order them online if you can't find them. To prep them, they just need to be soaked in some water until they're soft. No cooking is required. So I got them underneath some water in a bowl and placed that aside to finish the rest of my prep. Next up was my chicken. This is roughly 3.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, and I'm going to throw this in the oven to roast. This chicken will get used in all of the different meals that I have planned for the week, so for this initial cook, I want to keep it fairly plain. Having a blank slate to work from allows me to add more flavors later on depending on what I'm feeling in the moment. So here at this first step, I'm going to give it a drizzle of oil and some salt and pepper on both sides. I'm also wanting to keep this chicken fairly soft, since in the case of the stir fry, it's going to be cooked again. 2 strategies I'm going to use to help achieve this are to use a casserole dish with a higher wall and to cover the top with foil before baking. These will both help to keep a bit more moisture inside. The chicken's going into the same 400 degree Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius oven for 25 to 30 minutes. The cook time will depend on the size of your breasts though. I mean the chicken ones, not yours on your, obviously not the ones that you have. That wouldn't make sense at all. If you have smaller pieces, it won't take as long to cook and vice versa. Using a meat thermometer to gauge temperature is the best way to prevent overcooking in tough chicken. 155 Fahrenheit is what I shoot for, and as long as you hold that temperature for 1 minute, it will be sufficiently pasteurized. As I was placing that chicken in the oven, it was time to turn the sweet potatoes, so I shuffled them around a bit and put them back in the oven. Now it was time for me to prep some fruit. I need to have something sweet in the house. I'm a fiend and I like sugar. Get off my back. If I go more than a few hours without that sweet, sweet nectar on my tongue, I'll put any service dog out of business. I could smell the blood of a diabetic after a donut from the next county over. So if I don't prepare myself some fruit, I'll just go to Costco and get a bag of those heavenly hunks and eat them until I hate the person I've become. Then repeat that again once the cycle has made its way back around. So, obviously choosing fruit is better than doing that. I'll make myself a fruit salad to toss in the fridge with what I decide the fruit of the day happens to be. Usually that ends up being whatever is on sale at the store that week, which this time happened to be strawberries. So I diced up an apple for a bit of a crunch, an orange for the juice, a banana just because I had it and why not, and then I diced up roughly a pound of strawberries. Then I gave that container a splash of lemon juice and a sprinkle of cinnamon and mixed everything together. Because I need to eat something sweet after every meal, I'll go through this pretty fast. The bananas do get mushy if you leave them for too long, so if you don't plan to eat this within 2 days, I just would leave those out. And with the first dish of my buffet prep now complete, I threw the lid on my fresh and safe container, used the vacuum pump to suck out all of the air, and I moved this into the fridge for storage. My sweet potatoes have finished their time in the oven, and now they need to cool. I'll let them sit on the stovetop until they're ready to be packed away. The rice was also finished at this point, so I grabbed another fresh and safe container and transferred the rice to it. The fries have been soaking for long enough and they can be tended to whenever you get some time while you're waiting for things to finish up in the oven. The next step for these is to be frozen uncovered before being vacuum sealed. This will prevent them from freezing together in a big clump. Drain all the water away and lay the fries out on a sheet pan. Pat them dry to the best of your abilities and arrange them into a single layer. This sheet pan will go into the freezer where it will sit uncovered until the fries have had the chance to freeze solid. Usually, I'll let this go overnight and take care of it the next morning. I had one head of broccoli in the fridge that was about to go bad, so while the oven was on, I figured I might as well get it roasted. At least that way I can say I gave it a chance before throwing it in the garbage. Just kidding, I'll eat it. A little bit of oil, salt and pepper, and 12 to 15 minutes in the oven is all it takes. Next up was the lettuce for the spring rolls, wraps, and nourish bowls. I took one head of romaine lettuce and tore each of the leaves away from the root. That makes it easier for me to carefully inspect every square inch of each piece to make sure there isn't anything on them that's going to make me want to die when I look at it. Then I stacked the leaves on top of each other and chopped them up into thin pieces. From there, I placed the lettuce into the basket of my salad spinner and thoroughly cleaned it under the sink. Next, I dried it as much as physically possible by spinning it so hard I bent the very fabric of space-time and sent it into another dimension. Once I felt that it was adequately dried and back here on Earth, I moved it into one of my fresh and safe glass containers and removed all of the air with a vacuum pump. My chicken had finished up at this point, so I removed it from the oven and stuck a thermometer inside to make sure it was at temperature. I had checked the temperature earlier around the 22-minute mark and it was sitting around 140 Fahrenheit, so I decided to let it go another 5 minutes. And somehow, after I took it out here, it had rocketed up all the way to 190 and now it's just overcooked. What a dumb idiot I am, but whatever. It still ended up being okay in the end. I moved the chicken breast into another one of my ZWILLING fresh and safe glass containers, and then I moved it and the rice into the fridge to sit uncovered so it can chill a bit faster. One thing that I try to always keep in my fridge is either pickled onions or pickled carrots. They are great additions to any meal that feels like it needs a bit of a punch or some added freshness. I make them the easy way by just creating a brine and letting the vegetables soak over time. I don't bother with boiling it. For the brine, I do 1 cup of water, 1 cup of vinegar, then about a tablespoon of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. That gets whisked together and then I can drop in the vegetables. Carrots and red onion can go with so many different meals, so they make for easy choices to pickle. The red onion gets cut into thin slices from root to shoot, and the carrots get cut with a vegetable peeler. Traveling down the length of the carrot with the peeler will give you ribbons that are easy to incorporate into a number of different meals. Once everything is cut, you can place it into your brine and make sure it is completely submerged. If you need to add some more vinegar and water on top, they can be done. This doesn't have to be an exact science. Moving right along, my noodles are soft and can be drained and placed into a container for storage. I think it's a good idea to take a knife or some kitchen shears and cut the noodles into smaller, more manageable pieces. It will make them easier to eat in the stir fry and keep them from being a tangled mess in the container. This week's video was sponsored by ZWILLING. Their fresh and safe storage system is perfect for meal prepping because it helps keep food fresh for up to 5 times longer. I like to use these glass containers for buffet style preps, and their fresh and safe vacuum bags for anything that goes into Snack City because they help prevent accumulation of freezer burn. The glass containers come in a number of different shapes and sizes. The sweet potatoes here are in a small size, this chicken is in a container called a gratin dish, and the one the rice is in is called a fridge box. Each container is accompanied by a dishwasher safe lid that contains a valve to connect a vacuum pump that will remove the air from inside. I didn't forget about the fries. Once they are frozen solid, they get transferred into a couple of the medium-sized fresh and safe bags, spread out in a single layer, and sealed up to keep them ready to be air fried at a moment's notice. The 7-piece fresh and safe vacuum starter set comes with a vacuum pump, a small and large glass container, as well as 2 small and 2 medium vacuum bags. And if you use the code MEALPREP at checkout, they'll include 10 extra medium bags for free. I'll put a link in the description below where you can get your hands on some of this gear. Thanks to ZWILLING for sponsoring this video. And now that the prep work is all done, let's get to the good part where I show you how to use everything. We're going to make the chicken and noodle stir fry, a simple nourish bowl, spring rolls with peanut sauce, and a chicken wrap. The chicken and noodle stir fry is first up. I grabbed my chicken container from the fridge and picked out a smallish sized chicken breast. The way you cut up the chicken makes it taste different, and I think in this stir fry application, the best way to do it is to tear it by hand into bite-sized chunks. This one for me was 112 grams worth of the cooked chicken. I also grabbed 100 grams of the softened mung bean noodles. Next, I heated my wok over high heat and added in 7.5 grams of oil. To the wok, I start with 100 grams of frozen stir-fry vegetables and toss this around for about a minute. The chicken comes next, followed by 10 grams or so of crunchy chili garlic oil. That all gets mixed into the chicken and vegetables, then soon after, the noodles get dumped in. For my sauce, I added in 10 grams of soy sauce, 5 grams of sesame oil, about 2 grams of rice vinegar, and 3 grams of honey for a bit of sweetness. Everything gets mixed together to combine, and then I'll taste test and add any more of the flavorings if needed. Once everything is all cooked together, you can transfer it to a bowl and it's ready to eat. This bowl will run you roughly 530 calories and it has 35 grams of protein. With the prepped ingredients and using frozen vegetables, you can have this meal on the plate in less than 10 minutes with ease. And if you don't like to eat the same thing every day, you can always switch up the sauce to add variety into your dinners while keeping the same general template. Next up comes the Chicken Nourish Bowl. This one's nice because it requires no additional cooking, just a bit of reheating in the microwave. I didn't measure anything that went into this one. It's more of a, yeah, that seems about right kind of meal. I cut up a serving of the chicken breast, then added a bed of rice to the bottom of a bowl. I wanted to spice up the rice a bit, so I drizzled over a touch of oil, then gave it a light sprinkling of salt, paprika, and garlic powder. I mixed that together and microwaved it for a minute or so to pseudo-toast the spices. While that was going, I grabbed my lettuce and I dressed it with a bit of rice vinegar and salt. Then when my rice was heated, I added in the remaining ingredients to my bowl. Some of the sweet potatoes, a bit of broccoli, and the chicken. This went back into the microwave until the chicken was hot. Anytime I reheat chicken breasts in the microwave, I always reduce the power level to 50% to prevent any overcooking. When it came out of the microwave, I added in my lettuce, pickled red onions to the center, and I topped the chicken with some of my favorite habanero hot sauce from H-E-B. I like bowl-style meals such as this one to help me get in my vegetables because when you combine them with things that are good, like sweet potatoes and rice, it makes them go down so much smoother. I think this is one of the better ways to meal prep with chicken breasts as well, and if you are someone who is dieting and keeping your eye on your calories, this can be a nice way to get in a vegetable-forward, high-protein, lean meal. For a low-calorie light lunch option, you can use this buffet prep to make spring rolls. Starting off with the peanut sauce, you're going to mix together the following ingredients. 3 tablespoons or 50 grams of peanut butter, 1.5 tablespoons or 30 grams of honey, 4 teaspoons or 20 grams of soy sauce, 4 teaspoons or 20 grams of lime juice, and 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of sriracha. Once everything is combined and whisked together, add water until you reach a consistency that is pourable and semi-loose. For the spring rolls, grab a small handful of the mung bean noodles and place them into a bowl with a splash of water to reheat in the microwave. Get yourself a big enough workspace to make your spring rolls and prepare your rice paper either by running them under the sink or dunking them in a bowl of water. Before you place them down on your surface, wetting it first will help prevent the paper from sticking. Next, you can begin assembling the rolls. I start out by dividing the noodles evenly between however many spring rolls I am making. Then each one gets a few pieces of the sliced chicken breast and avocado, and I place a heavy pinch of lettuce on top with a dash of rice vinegar and a sprinkle of salt. To finish it off, each spring roll gets some of the pickled carrots, a squeeze of sriracha, and then a small amount of the peanut sauce. And now begins the disaster that I created for myself by doing all 3 of these at the same time while also trying to man the cameras and film this video. You guys who have watched my videos for a while already know that I'm the worst roller/wrapper of burritos and cylindrical shaped things the world has ever known. Unbeknownst to me during the construction, I took too much time and the water I added to the surface to keep things lubricated had dried up and these rice papers were practically cemented to the cutting board. I was cursing out the spring roll gods as I slowly but surely peeled the paper off the board to finally finish up the rolls. Adding splashes of water to the edges helped me unstick the paper and I eventually was successful in my endeavor. I could eat an almost endless supply of these spring rolls. When dipped in the peanut sauce, they are so palatable to me. They are fairly low in calories as well, and whenever I'm dieting to try to stop being a fat loser, they make their way into my weeks. And for another beautiful lunch option, we've got this chicken wrap up next. Again for this one, I didn't measure anything and I just grabbed what felt right. I placed a serving of rice and chicken into a bowl to be reheated in the microwave. Once it was heated, I mixed in a spoonful of mayo and a dusting of paprika and garlic powder and stirred everything together. Because I know I'm not a good roller, I placed a piece of foil down to assist in my wrapping. Parchment paper would be preferred, but I didn't have any in my house. To assemble the wrap, I laid down a 10-inch tortilla and a slice of American cheese. Next was the rice and chicken, some lettuce, tomato slices and avocado, some pickled onions, and a bit of salt. I then spent entirely too long trying to roll it up without the insides falling out. My main issue with rolling these is that I don't eat wheat, and so all of these tortillas are gluten-free, which means they don't stretch at all, and if you don't baby them, they just tear. Of course, eventually I got it though with the assist from the foil, and my lunch was ready for eating. Wraps are another food that you can change the flavor of in almost an infinite number of ways. Another variation I considered was that I could have air fried some of the crinkle cut fries and made a California burrito. I'm a big fan of wraps at lunchtime. The crinkle cut fries were mainly a snack time food for me, but I also used them for breakfast tacos a couple of mornings. To cook them, I air fry them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit straight from the freezer for about 15 minutes or until they are browned and crispy. I give them a spray of oil before they go in and a sprinkling of salt after they come out. A side of ketchup and I've got myself a perfect snack for watching the NBA playoffs. The initial buffet prep for this week took me an hour and a half to complete. I ended up eating through all the food in about 4 days, but I wasn't using the ingredients for every single one of my meals. If you have never tried out a buffet style prep before, it's worth a shot to see if it works for you. While the variation you can get from buffet style prepping is a huge plus, it does take a bit more effort from you throughout the week. It's not as simple as traditional meal prep where you can grab a meal from the fridge and go straight to the microwave. I like buffet style meal preps myself. I don't always do one as big as the one in this video, but many weeks I'll do a couple of different options. Now, you've got to try it out. Hit the thumbs up on this video so my boss doesn't fire me, and if you want to see more meal prep videos, check out the 2 on screen now. Bye.